Venezuelan crude sits in a fundamentally different category from most Gulf Cooperation Council supply. More than 70% of Venezuela's production potential comes from the Orinoco Belt, dominated by extra-heavy, high-sulfur crude in the 8 to 16-degree American Petroleum Institute gravity (API) range. These are some of the hardest barrels in the global system. By contrast, core GCC grades such as Arab Light, 33 degrees API, or Murban, 40 degrees API, are significantly easier and cheaper to process. The implication is not that Venezuelan oil lacks value, but that its value is conditional. It requires upgrading, diluent blending, and deep downstream complexity. That is why it naturally gravitates to deep conversion refineries, particularly along the US Gulf Coast, which hosts more than 9 million BPD of coking capacity. Unlocking this value, however, is neither quick nor cheap. It demands billions of dollars in upstream, midstream, and infrastructure rehabilitation. From a pricing standpoint, the effect of sanctions relief is inherently constrained. Even under optimistic assumptions, Venezuela is unlikely to add more than 200 to 300 kbpd over 12 to 24 months, lifting output from roughly 800 to 900 kbpd today. In a global oil market of approximately 102 million BPD, that represents less than 0.3% incremental supply. Historically, changes of this magnitude exert modest downward pressure, typically $1 to $3 per barrel in oversupplied conditions. Sustained price declines of $5 to $10 per barrel or more require far larger shocks or pronounced demand weakens. This is why Brent slipping below $70 remains plausible in a weak macro environment, with or without Venezuela, while Venezuelan barrels simply add marginal softness rather than driving the move. The geopolitical impact is felt less in volumes than in pricing power. Venezuelan crude does not displace Middle Eastern or Central Asian supply into Europe. Those flows are anchored by geography, pipeline economics, and refinery compatibility. Europe's exposure is indirect, through softer benchmarks and refined product availability, not through a reshuffling of crude routes. Even full Venezuelan normalization would not meaningfully reroute structurally embedded supply chains. Asia is where the pressure is sharper. China has absorbed roughly 300 to 600 kbpd of Venezuelan crude in recent years, typically at deep discounts. Additional Venezuelan barrels intensify competition in the same discounted segment, weakening Russia's negotiating position. Russian exports are unlikely to fall materially, but discounts to Brent, often $10 to $20 per barrel in 2023 to 2024, could widen further, compressing revenues. This is a revenue squeeze, not a supply weapon. For the United States, Venezuelan oil improves refinery economics and strategic leverage, but does not confer insulation from Middle East risk. Oil remains globally priced. Any disruption involving Iran or the Strait of Hormuz would still reverberate through prices regardless of Venezuelan output. Venezuelan barrels expand economic options. They do not rewrite strategic constraints. To sum up, sanctions relief for Venezuela has a real but bounded impact, measured in a few dollars per barrel, tighter pricing for Russia, and marginal relief for Europe. It does not crash markets, replace GCC supply, or neutralize Middle Eastern geopolitics. Energy markets remain global, and geopolitics continues to set the ceiling.